All right, welcome everybody to this week's webinar with BEC. We have very special guest, Dave Cameron, the Vice President of NaviStone, former Vice President at Nielsen, a really talented, well-known data scientist. So thank you so much, Mr. Cameron, for joining us this week.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll let everybody funnel in. We have a very interesting topic as it relates to data science, targeting mobile coupons for consumer packaged goods, and then broadening that out into kind of helping students to better understand the field, maybe how to get involved, or what really is encompassed by this big topic of data science. Okay, we can do a next slide, please. Okay, great. So yeah, before we hop into all the interesting facets of data science, we always like to just welcome everybody. For those of you who know us, great. For those of you who are joining who do not know us so well, a little bit about BEC education. Although you could say we do college consulting, tutoring, test prep, all the things that are associated with traditional education consulting, we always like to emphasize our education philosophy. There's this idea that college is simply a tool. It's simply a stage in your life for your future, and it's our goal to help you plan for that future. And if we can know what kind of future is what you're really suited for, then we can know what kind of person you're trying to become, and then we can try to figure out really how can we make plans that are more meaningful to you, more impactful. And if we are able to do that, then suddenly the planning of high school, how to get into college, is already complete. You've already become the kind of student that colleges want, because you already have a strong vision for yourself. You already have strong accomplishments. So in addition to our yearly mentor consulting service, where we have middle school students, high school students, college students, and besides our application consulting services, where we also have students applying to high school, undergraduate, graduate schools, also very, very important for us is providing opportunities for students where they can get hands-on experience doing the thing that may be their future career. So we have a network of partner companies for internships. We have partner professors for research. We're very proud to be able to provide real-world projects and opportunities for our students to learn and apply their skills. So that's just a little bit about BEC education. If we go to the next slide, please. And now, of course, we're very proud of where our students go to school. We believe they really just get in to where they deserve to get in. And if we can make a stronger impact on what they want to pursue for their career that better suits them, we would say that's really the success. But of course, we have to be proud of where they go, and we are quite proud of where the schools that they attend. Okay, and next slide, please. Of course, you don't need to believe me. You can go to Yelp right now. We luckily hold on to a 5-star rating, or we just got a couple more reviews today, yesterday, anyway, a few more these days. So that's been great, and we always thank everybody for the great feedback and for for choosing BEC. Okay, and next slide, please. And of course, I think a lot of you are already in our WeChat group. I think some of you may have found us through Facebook. But please, if you want to continue the chat, continue the dialogue, always contact us for a free consultation. We have phone, email, WeChat, all the platforms, and we always just want to talk to more students, more parents, help to answer your questions. And yeah, we're always happy to get in touch with more people. Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm going to hand the floor back to Mr. Cameron. Once again, current VP, Data Science at NaviStone, former Vice President, Nielsen, Data Science, graduate of The Ohio State University in Data Science. So yeah, very, very happy to have you here tonight. I'll let you take the floor, Mr. Cameron.
Well, thank you. And you got The Ohio State University. Yes. I used to say I got my master's degree from Ohio State, and then they changed it to The Ohio State University. And if you don't do that as a graduate, it just doesn't work for them anymore. So
glad I hit that point.
So data science, you see some of my clip art here, is a little bit of a art as well as a science sometimes, and often requires some brainstorming and getting together. And there's a perception among a lot of people, especially younger people. So, I have a son who's 18 years old who thinks I just go to a office and sit behind a desk, and that's not really the case. That's part of it, but I talk to people a lot. And what I'm going to go over is an example of how data science is used in everyday life to make your lives easier as a consumer, with an example that shows, what we would call modern data science, machine learning type techniques using your mobile device. So the objective here is to test personalization of digital coupons through a grocery retailer's mobile app. So, let's say you're shopping at, Jonathan says we have people from all over. So let's say you're shopping at Walmart. I'll pick a retailer, maybe everybody knows. And you go there and you decide, I'm going to download their app. And whenever I buy something, I can, put it on the app, I can scan in and I can get discounts and stuff. And a lot of retailers do that. For grocery retailers will do that. Safeway does it, as an example. I know a lot of you are in Safeway territory. And they'll send you coupons, but when I started in this business, everybody got coupons based on just what they purchased in the past. So you might see this a lot. You go in and buy a bottle of Diet Coke and you get a coupon for another bottle of Diet Coke. Or maybe Pepsi is sponsoring something and as a competitor, they send you a bottle of Pepsi. What my goal was to say, oh, come on, I can do better than that. We can look at, personalization. We can, give everybody a different coupon based on not only what they just bought, but their overall behavior and other data. So because they've opted in, because you have this mobile device, I was working for the Nielsen company at the time, and we were thinking we can roll this out as a product, and each one of our clients would be a grocery retailer that has an app, and we'll run it through the app. So the current couponing environment, there's still a lot of paper coupons. You go and you clip, or you go online and you clip, or you go to the website and you get a big page like in the middle there. And what ends up happening is you get mass communication. So I got a picture there of what's supposed to be an older couple getting coupons for Pampers diapers and for Cocoa Puffs, which would be appropriate for someone with a 2-year-old or something like that. The other thing is there's just so much clutter out there. So many promotions go unnoticed. I mean, how many of you actually really click on banner ads on display ads anymore, right? What if they send you emails? Talking about my 18-year-old son, he gets 100 emails every day for junk that it just sits there. And so it's not very effective. So what's been happening is we've been moving more toward mobile. And the idea is that through personalization, if somebody downloads the app, we can provide the most relevant promotions to each customer. And we can do this through various data sources and predictive modeling that would identify the best products to promote. And what's important for data science are two things. First of all, finding the right data. I don't know if you've ever heard the term garbage in, garbage out, but if you don't get good data, you can't get good results. Then the second thing is understanding machine learning algorithms that enable you to say, great, we can program this in, and as people make purchases on their app, it can update and it can provide new ideas for them. So, that way it's not like, oh, well, we sent you this coupon and this is just what you're stuck with. So at Nielsen, we had a personalization solution. It was actually twofold. One was to personalize the display. So what you saw on your phone would be relevant based on what you may have already bought and what you might want to buy. And we have targeted promotions that would have retailers and brands collaborating to say, oh, but wait, we're Coke and we really want to sell Coke. If this person's got any chance, let's sell them Coke and we'll pay for that. And so there were two different phases to this. But the great thing about it was it can be deployed across various platforms. We can do it on the mobile app, but if you log into that app, and let's say you log in through your Gmail account, and then you log into your laptop through your Gmail account, then Google still knows who you are. We can do the linkage through Google, and we can also deploy that coupon to the website. We could send it to you via email. If you put your phone number in and you've registered with this grocery retailer, we can send you a text. There's all kinds of different ways. We've even sent out, and the company I'm with now, NaviStone, sends out actual direct mail pieces, not for things like Coke, but nevertheless we do. So recognizing there's so many different ways in which you can receive information these days, and starting with a mobile device, starting with the fact that everybody's got a smartphone. Well, my 84-year-old grandmother does not have a smartphone, but you know what I mean. So here's how it works. You first calculate coupon scores and ranks. What I mean by that is likelihood that you're going to use this coupon. It's a probability percentage that you're likely to do that. And then rank them, sort them from most likely to least likely. And then based on that, deliver personalized coupons both to the app and the website. And if you have it on the app, you just click on it, you select it, it gets saved to your shopper card. You swipe the shopper card at the checkout, or the cashier does, and coupon gets redeemed at the clearinghouse. You get the money off. Real easy. And there are retailers who are doing this. Again, the problem is they're not doing a data science-based approach. They're doing it solely based on, oh, you bought this last week. I don't know how many of you have ever gone to a CVS, but if you go to a CVS, then you go in and they come with this big printed out list of coupons. I could literally use it to wallpaper, my bedroom door. It's 6 feet long, and it's all this stuff and everything, and it's like half the 80% of the time it gets thrown out. Hopefully there's nobody here that's parents work for CVS. So I talked about you need sources of data. What are the 3 sources, first of all? The first one is loyalty card data. What I mean by that is, you get a shopper card. I'm sure many people have a shopper card with somebody, whether it's a grocery retailer or who it's with. And with that card, any purchase that you've made goes back to that retailer, and they know how much you bought, how much you spent on it, when you bought it. And based on that, we need those data. I mean, we need to know what you've already purchased. And then I know I'm talking a lot about Nielsen, but it's where I worked when we did this project. Nielsen had 2 different other data sources. One was called HomeScan, and this was a panel of people who would literally scan the barcodes on the items they purchased, and they get transmitted to Nielsen. So the advantage is, let's play this out. Let's say the loyalty card data was for, I'm going to go back to Walmart because they're just the biggest. I don't even know if they have a loyalty card, but let's say they do. So you got a shopper card for Walmart. That's great. Walmart knows what you bought at Walmart, but they don't know what you bought at the local grocery store. They don't know what you bought at the CVS. They don't know what you bought at any other place. So the Nielsen HomeScan data adds another dimension. It adds another set of data that says, oh, okay, here's what you bought overall. So if I'm a Nielsen HomeScan panelist, I tell you everything I buy. What I bought at Walmart, what I bought at Safeway, what I bought at CVS, what I bought at the local gas station when I picked my bottle of Diet Coke on the way to go somewhere. And then the last source, Nielsen Spectra, is demographics. So one of the things that often plays in there, we talk about it through the Pampers and Cocoa Puffs example, right? I mean, I said my 84-year-old grandmother does not own a smartphone. She's also not going to buy diapers or Cocoa Puffs. But, I'm not going to either. My kids are old enough that I'm past that.
Sure. Oh, Dave, quick question. I think this is fantastic information. We got a very good question from the audience that might help to give some context. What is Nielsen?
Okay. Nielsen is a company that tracks what's sold in grocery stores, what's sold in Walmart, and measures the market share for them. So if you're Coca-Cola, you know what you ship to Walmart, you know what you ship to Safeway, you know what you ship to CVS, but you don't know how you're doing relative to your competitors. With this Nielsen data, they're able to capture all that and say, hey, guess what? You've got a 35% share here.
Okay, I think that's perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for chiming in. Okay, so let me back up. We start with those 3 separate sources of data, and they are separate because the first one comes from the retailer themselves. The second one comes from this panel of people who agree to scan. And the third one comes from demographic sources like age, income, how many people live in the house? Do you own your house? Do you rent? That sort of thing. Now we need to build predictive scores out of these. So the predictive model that we prototyped, and one of the fun things about data science is it's not like, I'm going to say a field that I wouldn't like. It's not like law where everything's cut and dried and you read the law book and here's where it is. It's like, nah, this is actually, you're investigating and there's no necessarily right or wrong answer. It's just what's most probable. And so the first one is a prior purchase score. And again, let's just stick to the idea that we're selling Diet Coke. So you look and you say, well, okay, I want to see how much the consumer has purchased from that product group. And that product group is well, whatever Coke is in, carbonated beverages, let's say. So it could be they bought Coke, it could be they bought Pepsi, it could be they bought Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew, whatever. And then you also have the brand. They're a lot more likely to buy Coke if they actually bought Coke before, as opposed to, oh no, they bought that product group, but they always buy Pepsi. So our first score is going to be based on what the customer has already done in that competitive category, where a category would be carbonated beverages or frozen pizza or diapers or breakfast cereal or whatever. Then we have a product affinity score, and this is a correlation of prior purchase items to the promoted product. So one of the examples that's often used here is chips and salsa. If you're sitting down and watching, football season just started, if you're sitting down and watching a football game and you go to the store and you get chips, like tortilla chips, and then you get salsa to go along with it, that's really common. So there's a high correlation of, oh, if we're promoting tortilla chips, if they bought salsa before, that's a good predictor. Whereas diapers are totally uncorrelated to watching football and buying chips and salsa. So it wouldn't play into that. So the product affinity score says you bought this, so you're more likely to buy that. And a lot of times we see that with health food people. They'll go in and, they'll buy all the fancy health food stuff, and they're definitely not going to buy Diet Coke then. And then the last one is the demographic lifestyle score. And that's where I said, okay, 50-year-olds and 40-year-olds and 60-year-olds are not going to buy diapers. 25 and 30-year-olds are. On the other hand, you might have some stuff the other way that says 25 and 30-year-olds are not going to buy, single serve meals that old people eat, vice versa. So each of these scores is separate. Each of these scores is based on those data sources we collect, but each of these sources is going to be predicted. It's not going to be, oh, because you bought this, you always bought that. So if you play out my chips and salsa example, 72% of the time somebody buys tortilla chips, they also buy salsa. So it's not 100%. There's no hard, fast rules here. As a data scientist, you have to have your model figure this stuff out. So I want to go over each of the models. The first one is like a typical brand model, like again, buying Coke or buying Pampers or buying Cocoa Puffs. You have a probability of brand purchase, as I said. What are you going to buy? On how much you spent in this product group before, how much you spent with this brand, how recently you purchased. If you only purchase it once a year, there's a holiday in the US called Thanksgiving that, people serve turkey and stuff that goes with turkey. A lot of times people only buy once a year. So the fact that you bought it 6 months ago doesn't mean you're going to buy it today. And so then the last one might be how frequently you buy it. If I buy Diet Coke every single time I go to the store, I'm more likely to buy it than I just bought it because I was having a party, And so you bring in these things and you weight them, and you say, how important are each of these to determine that probability? And the machine learning algorithm used for this is called logistic regression. It's something that, you go to a university, a college, you're going to learn in your first or second statistics class. But to do that, as I said, there's garbage in, garbage out. It's not as simple as just saying, great, I toss it all into this model, I let the machine, that's that. If it was, you wouldn't need university-educated people to do this. You need people who can think. You need people who can merge all the data from various sources. So the first thing we do is we have to bring all these data in. Well, how do you do that? The second thing is exploratory data analysis on the data. I mean, I figured out that chips and salsa have a 72% likelihood of purchase, because I looked at the data. I went through and looked at some other ones and I said, okay, diapers is 0%. I see there's another question. Jonathan, I'll let you stop me if you want me to address that.
Oh, sure. Well, perhaps now is a good time. I was going to hold on, but it said, is this logistics regression thing? Is that what Facebook people do nowadays? Maybe we could tell us a little more about the logistics regression.
Sure. It's part of the set there at Facebook, where when you're doing targeting through a Facebook ad, you want to know the likelihood somebody's going to click on that ad. And that likelihood model is usually a logistic regression because it determines the probability of doing something.
Okay, thank you.
For that matter, Google does the same thing on their search. When they put the highest search thing up there, what's the most likely thing? So anyway, they all have these algorithms. So where was it? Oh yeah, exploratory data analysis. You're actually looking at the data to look for some patterns. Do things make sense? We actually had an interesting situation with this because when we got the cardholder data, we had about 1 million people, and out of those, 999,800 of them spent less than $3,000 with that retailer. The other 200 spent at least $20,000 with that retailer. And this is where it's important to think and think, wait a minute. I can see that okay, 3,000. I can see that's big for me, but I could see spending, 2,000 a year at a grocery retailer, okay? 20,000? Does that really make sense? So I asked, and they said, oh, yeah, you want to throw those out. That's the cashier. What happens is somebody comes and says, I forgot my phone or I forgot my card. And the cashier says, oh, no problem. I'll just scan mine. And so then it's a whole hodgepodge of mess that's assigned to just whoever happens to be working at the checkout cashier area. So again, if you don't look at that, that's going to really throw you, because you're going to look at that and that's not valid data. And not only that, it's huge because you're looking and saying, oh my God, these are the best customers. They spent $40,000 with us. Yeah, that's okay. You're spending $1,000 a week at groceries now. It's just, again, you got to take, and this is where the data scientist role comes in, is saying you're not a machine. You're not doing machine learning at the start. You're going in and you're making sense of things. The next one is you're splitting the data set into what you use to develop your model versus what you use to validate that it works. Because you need some way to test out and say, okay, what was just built, does it actually make sense? Because you're going to toss this through a computer and you're going to let it churn and you're going to let it figure out those probabilities. But then you're done and you could say, hey, great, look what I got. But if you don't have a data set to test it on to see, does it really make sense? You're just assuming the computer did everything right. So you build that model off. I always break it up randomly up front. I take 60%, I use it to build the model, and then I use the other 40% to test it and see, okay, how well did it do? And some examples of modeling predictors. You have positive predictors and negative predictors. Positive predictors are things that say, yeah, if you have this, you're likely to buy this. So for denture adhesives, you don't know what denture adhesives are, like glue that keep on false teeth. It's higher age. I mean, people are generally old enough, they've been losing their teeth. A negative predictor is presence of children. Well, yeah, because the average age of somebody who buys denture adhesives is 82 years old, so they're not likely to have kids at that age. So you want to look at both. You want to look at not only things that are going to say, here's why I would buy it, but also things that would say, here's why I wouldn't buy it. And so when you build this for denture adhesives, you're going to say, I'm going to skew toward people over 80, but I'm also going to say, if they've got kids in the household, then I'm going to skew away from them. The next score is the product affinity example. So this is correlating, I touched on this, it's correlating other products a customer buys relative to the product you're trying to promote with a coupon. So if you're saying, oh, I got a coupon for $10 off Crest Whitestrips, look to see people who buy Crest Whitestrips, what else do they buy? And there's stuff out here like Yoplait Kids Yogurt and San Pellegrino water and Power Bar Harvest and all kinds of stuff that seems to be relatively healthy. I see like South Beach Diet over on the left and baked Tostitos instead of fries. And here I'm saying healthy and I see Guinness beer and Red Bull over on the right. So anyway, I'll just be quiet there. But the idea is that these are things that people have bought. People who bought this Whitestrips, these are things that other people have bought. So as soon as somebody says, oh, they take their app and they scan in and they buy Yoplait Kids Yogurt up there at the top, and then they go and they buy IAM's dog food or whatever that is next, and then they buy San Pellegrino, it's like, ooh, this is looking like somebody who buys Whitestrips. So in real time, you can then send them a, bam, goes to the top, 3D Whitestrips. And then the last one is demographic lifestyle, and this is actually the weakest of the three. Because it basically puts people into consumer segments. So younger years is less than 35 without kids, or middle age without kids at home. I mean, it's not technically younger years, but the idea is these people have buying habits that they're not buying for kids. So I had mentioned for me, I'm certainly not young. I don't want to tell you how old I am, but let's just say I met Dr. Zhu 19 years ago, and I said I got an 18-year-old who's just starting in university. So I just got to the point of middle age without kids at home. It has changed our buying habits. You know, we're buying stuff for just me and my wife rather than a family of 4 like we were 2 weeks ago. But I'm not at mature years where, oh, you know, we're over there and we're getting over 55 and buying, what did I say, denture adhesives or stuff like that. I may get here at some point, but you know, then it's a whole different ballgame where you start buying. And you'll see some examples, but a lot of this is like what my mom would get. You know, single serve meals she could just pop in the microwave. She buys a ton of cat food. There's a stereotype, you know, 75-year-old women who are widows that have a cat to live with, and oh, she's it. You know. And then the middle one is family life households with children living at home who tend to buy the breakfast cereals and the Diet Cokes. And well, when my son was here, he would buy a whole bunch of frozen pizzas he could put in, that sort of thing. So the predictive models look at what responders look like, people who pick the coupon, but also what non-responders look like, because you need to have something to contrast. You need to say, oh, well, if people who buy Pampers diapers tend to be 30 years old and probably have a baby at home, that's contrasted to somebody like who's 50 and hasn't had a baby at home for 15 years. You know, you have to be able to say, you put people in the bucket that are going to get the coupon and put people in the other bucket who are not going to get the coupon. And then the last thing is you got to decide what's important. Somebody asked about logistic regression. Logistic regression predicts the probability you're going to do something. Click on an ad, buy a product, click the coupon, you know, go to the website, whatever. And that would be response rate here. But they might not want that. They might want dollar amount. They want to know, how much is this person going to spend with me? How much are they going to spend on an average monthly basis? In that case, you need a different technique. And so data science has different techniques depending on, if I want a probability, I do logistic regression. If I do a dollar amount, I want something else. There are websites you can search that are the 10 most commonly used data science machine learning techniques, and it's pretty easy. It's an easy read to see and see what they do. But that's a lot of what I spend my life doing. Is my last model, I tried 4 different approaches, see what works best. But the key here is it leverages the digital coupon platform. It has to be fast. You can't do some big artificial intelligence thing that takes 10 minutes to churn, because people are in the store. They buy something. You want to be able to get that coupon in front of them while they're there. You don't want to wait till they're home and say, oh, next time you go to the store and all that. Yeah, that's circa 2010, right? That's not today. So we need to first, like I said, look at demographics. You'll need to look at who's actually using the app. And the way I find it's important is looking at the difference between the percentage of people that use it versus those that don't. So if you look at the 26 to 35-year-old set, out of that group, 28% of them are using the app and only 12% of them are not. And if you divide 28 by 12, you get 2.34. And that's the 234 over there. That's huge. This is your target. These are the people who are using the app. These are the people who are buying the stuff. I said you get down to the bottom at 66 plus, and you have my 84-year-old grandmother who doesn't have a smartphone. So of course she's not going to use the app. She's got, I don't know what she's got for a cell phone, to be honest. I'm afraid to find out, but she's got one. And you know, so of course you only have 6% of that group using the app. So your target, you know, this is where the demographics play in. Your overall target has to play in too. But still realizing you can't ignore the older set. 43% of the app users are over 45 years of age. So yeah, you got these big indexes down at the bottom, but you still got an older section that you want to keep in mind here. The other thing is that app users are more likely to have children. And this makes sense. You know, you go into the store, you're trying to find coupons, you're buying a bunch of stuff for the family. So it's, you know, it's something to keep in mind. So this is the kind of stuff that, you know, we look at. We did surveys to just simply ask people, you know, if they've got the app, you can pop them a 2-question survey. People aren't going to go online and fill out a 10-minute survey, but if you just bought your stuff and you scanned it in and you send them a survey that says, hey, Just one question. Do you have kids? Do you not have kids? People answer, got a great response rate. So who are the best prospects for personalization? You need to put together if I'm dealing with a marketing manager, if I'm dealing with this retailer who wants to understand, yeah, but who's buying my stuff? I can't give them numbers. I keep messing that up still. I've been in this field for 30 years and I still forget. And literally today I gave my CEO a bunch of numbers and he's like, what? It's like, oh yeah, you want descriptions and pictures. So for our denture adhesives example, again, older people thing, glues the teeth in, you got a picture here of somebody who's buying macaroni and cheese. It's easy, you're old, it's an easy thing to eat. You pop it in and you don't really need your teeth to work too hard. I got an old guy with a cigar and no teeth, and I got a cat. And I mentioned my mom was this way. She's, up there in age, and she's a widow with a cat. And, that's pretty common, actually. So for denture adhesives, we looked at this kind of stuff and said, okay, they're twice as likely to buy stuff like Kraft mac and cheese. 50% are over 70. They're 60% more likely to buy cat food. So let's put that out there. Let's give a picture. Let's go back and tell them, hey, this is what they look like. And you know what? It gives them an opportunity to say, if when they place ads, they can tailor the ads toward you. So I don't know, when you go into YouTube, you know how you got, 5 seconds till you hit skip ad. If you're measuring denture adhesives here and you go and say, oh, okay, we're going to show you an ad that's got macaroni and cheese and an old guy with a cigar and a cat as part of that ad, maybe the person who's watching that video actually stays on and doesn't hit skip ad. And so by giving them this story, it enables that advertiser to go back and say, okay, well, yeah, let me kind of set it up that way. Whereas for me, if you were to send me an ad that had this stuff, and I'd hit skip ad as soon as I could. So, but I'm not going to buy this product. So the modeling scoring approach, there's one equation for each and every product. You need to have a separate, what a product would be like, denture adhesives or Coke or frozen pizza or Cocoa Puffs or whatever. You have a separate equation for each. And the equations are set up where the higher the score, the more likely you're going to use that coupon. So for every card holder, we created that customer purchase history score, we created the product affinity score, and we created the demographic lifestyle score, and created all three separately, and then weighted them in order of importance. And then sorted the coupons from most likely to least likely. And then as people would go through the store, the most likely coupon would pop up. If they changed their behavior, it could change to the next coupon. Literally, there were over 100 products and millions of customers. And again, it had to work in real time. So you needed a good algorithm, but a simple one. And what did we find? We got a 13% increase in total coupon redemptions, which tells me that, great, the retailer's happy, 13% more. Tells me the customer's happy because they're using it more. Coupons redeemed for new products were 37% increase. That means people tried stuff they hadn't bought there before. And this is where the retailer was really happy because they're like, hey, they never bought this in my store before, and now they are. I don't know really what that means, other than, it could be that they were just buying it at a competitor, but nevertheless, our client was a specific retailer, and so we were trying to meet their needs. And when you rank the coupons in the top 10% versus the bottom 10%, those in the top 10% got 7 times the number of redemptions in the bottom 10%. So if there were 100 redemptions in the bottom 10%, there were 700 in the top 10%. I wish I could do this well in picking stocks. I wouldn't be talking to you now. I'd be retired and really enjoying myself. Well, I was going to say on a beach somewhere, but okay, it's virus time, maybe not. Bottom line, total success. The customer is happy. Meaning our client is happy. The people buying products are happy because they're getting ads more associated with them. You can use it across the board. And so how does this play out? Well, if you're a data scientist, if you're somebody and you say, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get a degree in whatever I get it in, and I have a master's in the equivalent of data science, how would I work this? I do this once, now what? It goes to the machine. That's not true. Every time there's going to be new stuff involved, and you need to look at stuff like this. So I said, you need to weight the algorithms, weight the different scores. Well, how do you weight them? Well, I looked at purchase history and saw that I got 2.7 times the lift from the top 25% to the bottom. For product affinity, I got 1.9. For demographic lifestyle, I got 1.4. But when I combined them all, I got 3.8. I need to track this. I can't just hand this off to a computer because now I've made this complicated weighting scheme. And it's like, okay, every time somebody purchases, I can't look at it. But periodically, maybe over a week, I come back and I say, okay, do these numbers still hold, or do I need to change them, or need to do anything? Because the machine has got the algorithm, but it doesn't have that common sense. It doesn't have that looking at the data, like I said about, oh, somebody spent $20,000 a year at a grocery store. No. You know, I know that doesn't make sense. You can think about it. So my job is then to go in and say what makes sense and what doesn't. And if there's something that's really changed, then I need to go in and change the models. So what we do is it's an ongoing digital test and learn process where we have personalized and we analyze the data. We analyze just like the way that I've talked about for the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and say, what are we finding? And then we refine it. We make subtle changes as we go through. You know, I've learned some interesting stuff here. You know, I mentioned about the chips and salsa type of thing, but there were some interesting things I found. You know, we had that Crest Whitestrips example there, and I later found that Crest Whitestrips was heavily correlated with buying Starbucks coffee. Didn't have that up front because they didn't buy it in the grocery store. They bought it somewhere else. And then I thought about it and I said, yeah, okay. Somebody who drinks a lot of coffee, it's a, you know, it's a dark beverage. It stains your teeth. So you get the white strips to get them back to white. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So the picture that I showed you up there, I actually added other sources outside of the store that said, okay, well, what else do you buy outside the store? And Starbucks coffee was the biggest predictor that I didn't have in the original model because they didn't buy it as part in that retailer. So you're always learning, you're always refining, you're always personalizing. And what I find so fascinating about data science, and the reason I've done this for 30 years, is I'm always investigating. I'm always learning new stuff. I'm finding as the world changes, what changes. I mean, even this project, I couldn't have done this in 2013. You didn't have the apps. You didn't have, I mean, I don't know where we were in iPhone 3. If there's something at that point, I'm making it up. But, you know, it was kind of like, you didn't have the power to do this where you could say, oh, I got 64 gig of memory on my phone. I can have the churn in real time and figure this stuff out. It didn't work, and we tried. And now we can just bring in so many data sources that we couldn't bring in before, and we can use fancier and fancier algorithms, and it just gets farther and farther along. And the more complicated it gets, people say, oh, well, that puts, you know, people out of business. We've automated everything. If your job can be automated, it will be. That's not happening here. It's going the other way around. You need more people because there's so much data coming in to say, what does it mean? So I love this field. You can probably tell. I'm excited when I talk about it. I've been doing it for a long time. Besides working at NaviStone, I actually teach at a local MBA school, and same sort of thing. It's kind of bringing people in. But I think the field is going to continue. I think what's going to happen is we're going to move a little more toward learning software engineering skills, because you need to be able to have that tie-in. You need to be able to say, oh, I can do this in real time, but not only on my phone, but I need to be able to say it's going to tie to my other device, my tablet if I have one, my laptop, you know, even if I'm getting an ad on a smart TV. You know, now with addressable TV, you can send ads on your TV. And I mentioned YouTube. It has to be able to tie back to Google so that they can give you the right ads at the right time. So what's happening is the data scientist is moving from you know, still understanding probability, but moving to say, I need to understand how these interact together. I need to understand more about the software. And so there's always stuff to do. There's always stuff to learn. I spent a lot of time trying to understand a programming language called Python, which is my best software package right now. And you know, a lot of this stuff is done on there. It's open source. You can download it. It's free. So that's what I got. We had a couple questions, and I was asked to shut up and leave some time for Q&A.
Mr. Cameron, thank you so much. I think that was a tremendous overview with kind of using a key example that a lot of us can relate to in order to illustrate what's going on in a broader industry and field, and one that's changing so much and growing so much. So I think that was fantastic. Does anybody in the audience have questions? We did have those couple questions. That was great. I recognize some names on this are some college students, former students of ours actually, who are now in college. I can recognize the names. Some of them I know are high school students. But please, this is a great opportunity for anybody in the audience. If you do have questions, please feel free to ask. And we'll give everybody a minute to think. This is, yeah, it's there are a lot of technical aspects to it, but we have a number of students learning Python, seriously considering data science. Some who we then help to do a master's, in the field. It's definitely a really powerful area that's really hitting every industry. I mean, what isn't being touched by data science at the moment?
Right, and that's one of the things I like about BEEC is it's so broad. It's recognizing where are the trends in the industry going, and that's one of the things I talked about at the end. Is like, data science continues to grow and it continues to evolve, and the type of skills you need now are a little different than what you needed, 20 years ago. But it's a natural growth.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, we're very lucky to have great speakers and great resources like you. Yeah, I mean, I understand maybe if people do have questions, maybe they're a little uncomfortable to ask in the group, then we can, of course, always accept questions offline, and then we'll try to get the best answer we can from Mr. Cameron later. Otherwise, any parting words, any final words from you?
I would say feel free to reach out. You can actually find me on LinkedIn. I don't do Twitter, but I have a LinkedIn account and I'm very active there. So if you do want to send me something online, I'm certainly responsive to people. I know that this is more of a challenging time given the environment with COVID and that. So our world continues to change through all of this. But the example that I gave about going into grocery stores, I would encourage you to think about things that aren't impacted by COVID or that are impacted positively, because in my example, you still need to buy groceries. So this is something that's still going to happen. It's something that's going to grow. If I was saying I was building this model to predict who was going to stay in a hotel, I'd be worried about that working anymore because, I've stayed in a hotel once in the last 3 months,
Sure. I think that's a good point. No matter what, we're all getting groceries these days. Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. Cameron. Thank you to our audience, and perhaps we'll leave it here for this week. All right, thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.